Welcome to the Awaken Life podcast. I'm your host, Emily Ruth, and we are going to talk about creativity for episode 3. And what better way to do that with my beautiful friend, illustrator, artist, and Twitch streamer, River.
Thank you so much, Emily. It's really an honor to be speaking here with you today. I'm pretty nervous, but I think we're going to have a really good conversation.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, as always. So we're going to be talking about creativity, and I'm sure your audience knows what you do, but would you like to tell my audience what you do in particular?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I am an artist. I enjoy illustrating and making comics. I draw a lot of animals and creatures, but I'm also a streamer on Twitch. For those that don't know, it's a streaming platform where you do, a lot of people do art, music, even cooking, and really any kind of craft. Gaming, yeah, gaming is probably the biggest thing on there. And you can do those activities live for people. So I've been doing that for maybe about 2 years now. It's hard to remember sometimes. But I've always done art my whole life. But yeah, I've been really into Twitch lately, and I'd like to get back into YouTube as well. It's just a good way to share your art, engage with others in the community and with your audience. So that's it. Yeah.
Perfect explanation. All right, so let's get into it. Creativity. Everybody has creativity, even though some people don't think we do. But what does it mean to you, creativity?
So I would define creativity as one's ability or tendency to use your imagination, your intuition, I think, and a sort of like playfulness to create works of art, music, or even just problem solve. It doesn't necessarily have to be like creating a product.
Fine art.
Yeah. And I think, I already lose my train of thought.
Okay.
Or that problem solve, but also just communicating with others and really just find, I think, joy and delight, and just be fun, for you to enjoy your life a bit more, in ways that are often unique and unconventional and just really specific to the person themselves. So I guess that's how I would define creativity to me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I like some of the points you made. You talked about intuitive, which I feel like for those that in spiritual community wise, a lot of that comes from your chakras. Don't quote me on what chakra because I can't remember at this time. But it comes from one of them, and I'm assuming it's more the lower 3, but that's where a lot of creativity can come from, and your imagination too as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I think it's something a lot of people, we all have that ability. I think maybe sometimes just because you're not creating maybe a work of art specifically, you can still be creative throughout your life daily, even in small tasks or at work, or for example.
So since you said all that, how does it play in your life?
And
others' lives, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so again, it's with art. I mean, that's something that I value a lot, just because that's pretty important in art. I mean, art's always been a big part of my life, and it's something that you want to improve at, and you want to push the envelope with, and it's a very progressive kind of medium. So I think creativity is very important there. And I have some of my notes down here, so I'm looking down. And I think it allows a space to experiment and try new techniques or try out new ideas without that fear of judgment or maybe over criticism of yourself.
Would you say creativity comes with confidence?
I think it can, and that's a good question. I'm trying to think, is there a confidence? I think it can, but I don't think even if you don't have confidence, I still don't think it could hinder it. It's just maybe just having a freedom or a willingness to let go and just to play, and maybe not be set on a final result, I guess,
or perfection.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
because sometimes the most bizarre looking ones that look like complete accidents were intentional, and they make thousands of dollars. which is interesting compared to some other works.
Mm-hmm.
But there's different types of art. So do you want to go into that, or you want to talk about yours specifically?
Okay, yeah, I can give you my
That'd probably help you better.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. Yeah, so I guess the kind of art I like to do, specifically, I do a lot of illustrations and comics. And even comics are, at least the ones I like to draw, are about just things about my life, my experiences, or stories that I have to tell about little characters and their worlds. And that's something, of course, you have to be quite creative with. Just, working all that out. It's like a whole world you're building. And then sharing that artwork itself, that kind of ties back into streaming. What kind of avenue you can use to reach other people, communicate with others, even, like receiving feedback from them and then building off that and sharing with others, and then being able to, I don't know, that spreads the creativity all around, I think, to be able to work with others alongside you and hear what they have to say. So I do think it's I don't know, that it has been a big factor, I think, at least in my art making process.
So all the images you created, where do you think all that comes from, really? Like the characters itself, like the way they look like, the way they interact, I guess, with other characters. I know you said it was based off your life, but where do you think those images are coming from?
I think I pull a lot of inspiration from, well, the world around me, I guess, my past, my memories, I guess we all do, because that's just your life, that's your past life experience and your current observations. But I look a lot into nature, into animals especially, the forms you'd see, like fur, hair, eyes, and into especially things in movement I'm really interested in as well, like motion, animation, even just past movies like that we all kind of grew up with as kids. Animation, I said that already, but
Yeah, I got you.
And cartoons and comics, other pre-existing artworks as well. It's just other media we grew up consuming. And I think I said it earlier, just things that seem like they tell a story, or bring a sense of nostalgia or just symbolism, like something just, I don't know. Sometimes it's a very emotional way to approach things. I think that's where I get a lot of inspiration from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've heard, like, even with storytelling stuff, like Aragon, or like the Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones, Hobbit, the Hobbit, Lord of Rings. Some people say, like, the Hobbit and Lord of Rings actually came from, like, past lives and, like, the way they made the characters and stuff. Do you think any of that would have to do, because I know you mentioned, like, parts of your life, but I don't know if you meant, like, past life, like, actual, like, not this life, another life. What's your thoughts on that?
I honestly don't know a whole lot about the past life, or, like, I guess the idea, like, all that, but I guess I was thinking of just specifically my life growing up, as a child, and being encouraged in art, but just from, even outside of art, just basic observations of things I've looked at and then try to incorporate, and just my experiences in relationships to people. I think it's not also separate, if that makes sense, I think.
Do you ever think that, like, maybe you or me or anybody else might draw from that past life or that experience into this now?
It's definitely possible. I mean, I'm not exactly sure if it's something that I can speak so much on. If it's something I don't have as much knowledge about.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel that, especially when it comes, like, when you approach things from that intuition or that emotion, like perhaps you're tapping into something that is the unknown, that you might not be quite sure.
That's fabulous. I don't know, because the things that, like, some people say, like, those images and thoughts, they come from somewhere. So I'm always curious about, like, where they're coming from, whether it's from you, your heart, your space, maybe people around you. Like, do you ever get that weird feeling of, like, oh, I'm gonna draw this and maybe somebody else's might be drawing something similar to you? Have you ever had that happen to you
I
before?
think I have, where I've seen it. I don't know if it's artwork that just really resonates with me, or even like an art style, or technique that I've seen someone using. I'm like, that it really seems like I just connect with that a lot. So that's really always interesting to see. I'm not sure if that's like where that comes from exactly. Like it's a very mysterious thing, isn't it? But even that, I think it's the same thing. You feel that connectedness with other people too, and I feel like even us, like we'll have that. And I'm like, I don't know. There's something. It's hard to define it. It's hard to describe exactly what it is. But yeah, especially with people, with others, and of course with our technology too, like being able to see all that online, whereas normally you might not see that in person. But you have access to see all these kind of things online, so it's pretty cool thing to look at. Yeah.
I guess that's like the spirituality part of me. I guess you would say that. I'm always interested where your thoughts and stuff come from, because I know like my level of spirituality is like different from yours, because you're just kind of getting into like the whole woohoo aspect, I guess you'd say, with me. And I just find it interesting. So with creativity, how do you think, if somebody is really wanting to like jumpstart their creativity, like how would you recommend that?
Okay.
How would you get them into doing something they're creative about? And it doesn't have to be just artwork, but
right.
Or maybe they want to do artwork.
I mean, for sure. I think giving yourself the time, it's always hard finding time, but the time and space, again, to be playful, to not put too much pressure on yourself, like to be gentle with yourself. There's a balance. You can't push yourself and like try this crazy experimental thing, but it's okay. Sometimes you always have to. And even having play, having rest afterwards to really reflect back on whatever you were trying to do. Or just trying something completely different, and again, without too much of an expectation or maybe strict criteria of what you were trying to accomplish. It could even be, just taking a different route that day. That's kind of creative. Or if you're at work, like maybe approaching this problem from, just thinking outside the box, or approaching something from, again, more intuitive or emotional standpoint, can be helpful. Just that sense of flexibility, I think, is quite important. This openness to different ways of doing things. So I think those are some good starting points. It probably depends on the task. It could be more specific.
So maybe like I feel like with me, even creativity wise, like drawing my guides and stuff, I would say I think it's all about also what you said, but also about having fun, that play aspect. And I feel like a lot of people get stuck in the do but forget to do the fun with it. So if it becomes frustrating, that's when you like need to know when you need to stop something. I mean, that's in all aspects of life. I mean, if it's your job, think about that, but don't just stop your job. But don't quit unless you have another job lined up. But yeah, that is a beautiful answer. Is there any questions you would like to ask me about my creativity?
Yes, actually. So you talked about kind of similar questions to what you asked me, like where, like what creativity means to you and where you draw your imagery and like motifs from. Are they like from your dreams or from your past life, or from like just I'm bad at wording that question, but yeah, I think you get what I mean.
That's actually a loaded question. Okay, so I'm always curious, like I said, about where people get their images from. When I draw, it's always usually coming from my imagination, and I tend to like tap into, like, say I want to draw my guides, I tend to tap into them and then I'll draw them, or my meditations usually, which are crazy in the sense And I think that's where I really tap into my drawing, or I just use my imagination. And I don't know if that has to do with your third eye. We're going back to the chakras or anything like that. Don't quote me on that. Some people that are more excellent on the chakra system than I should be able to answer that for you. And by me and you, I mean like you all, not her.
Yeah. I think they got it. Yeah. Very good.
But yeah, I feel like that's where I get my inspiration. If I ever like channel like an energy, I will draw symbols, and some say that's like language. I guess it is. Sometimes I'll just be doodling. I'm more of a doodler than like drawing, but I will draw. But like if I'm just like in the moment, I just want to do little doodles. And it doesn't have to be like a little scene or anything. It could just be like a little windy stuff. But I think that has to do with the light language.
I did actually want to make a point about that. How the actual like the marksmanship or the process of drawing, literally with your hands, that's kind of a very like therapeutic and cathartic thing for me, at least. So I'm sure like when you say doodling, like that is kind of what that's
very
about.
Calming. I don't know about me. Like when it comes to creativity, I hate drawing in lines.
Yeah.
I cannot. I used to thought the coloring books were kind of cool, like for adults. I can't stand them. I get so aggravated just coloring. Like I just want to draw. Like it irritates me and I get annoyed. I'm not relaxed when I do those. So, and I recently saw, I can't remember.
Are they the Zentangle ones that you're talking about? Like the adult coloring books?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they'll have like different designs. They'll have like animals or something like that. And like you just color it in, and I get so annoyed. I get
like
bored.
It's restrictive or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm like annoyed with it. I don't know if you feel the exact same way. But I recently saw something that was the opposite of it. They actually put the color in, and you just do the doodle.
That's really
cool.
I
saw it on Instagram somewhere, and I was like, oh my god, finally somebody understands, but I'll have to find it again. But I was like, oh.
It's kind of like you can react to it.
You can use your own imagination. Like, yeah, color can only get you so far, unless you, like, add more to the picture. But, I don't know, I just find those restricting, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
I get so annoyed, and I'm like, these are not calming.
Yeah.
This is stressing me out more. But, yeah.
Sometimes art can be stressful too, or whatever thing you're doing. I guess that comes along with the expectation or the pressure, or
just wanting to get it done.
Yeah,
and I think and I feel like people like when it comes to art and stuff, like creativity in general, they want to get it done, and I think that's when like they lose the passion for it or the fun in it. The fun gets lost, and then you're frustrated because you're maybe not, like you said, that perfection part comes into play. But I'm like, it'll look good either way. And like something you might be squiggling about, like fussing about, might be one little minor detail that people probably won't notice unless they're like a major in art.
Yeah.
Or like an art critic, but most of the time people that are buying art aren't art critics or
no one will
in
know.
your art field. So it's okay. Even if you just want to paint it for your house or draw or food-wise, and that uses creativity in so many ways. I just think it's all about fun.
Yeah.
Creativity is fun. That's what this should be about. Creativity is fun.
Yes. And it can be fun. And I'm thinking how, even though I know in our heads we're like, it should look this way. I mean, if you could just project that thing, I guess, as a hologram and it would just exist, I'm like, okay, then we wouldn't really have to do art at all. It's the process.
Right. It's funny that you say project, because I don't know, like whenever you're drawing on like a paper, do you ever like see it outlined kind of in your head, like on the paper of how it's going to be?
So I feel like that's something I've tried to do, and honestly, like not exactly. I have a general idea, but I think I've learned, or I've had to just let that go, because it will never be exactly what you want. Like your hand just cannot keep up with your brain, I guess. So I try to accept that this may not be exactly what I envisioned, but that's okay, because it's like my whole body in the 3D world is going to be part, like, you know what I mean? I can't just project it into my mind and make it appear. So it's kind of important that my body just does its best, I guess. Like my hand is gonna try to draw it, and I'm gonna have like mistakes, I guess. You know, it's like an interpretation of what's in my mind, and it'll just kind of exist on its own. As much as I might try to control it, maybe sometimes it's like, you know what, it's just gonna be that way.
Especially if you keep trying over and over.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I can't get it to look like I want.
I think that's why I draw a lot of the same thing a lot, like very similar, you know, imagery. I love like animals, dogs, like deer, rabbits, and things with like big eyes, and they look a little bit in pain sometimes. They're like, I'm not even gonna lie, they're kind of weird.
Do.
Yeah, it's like a little sad animal, and I'm like, okay, that might say something. That's a whole other thing, maybe. Oh goodness.
Well, you did say it kind of goes off like your emotions, your life,
Yeah.
things that happened in the past, maybe. So maybe it's just like a part of you is like depicting that. Maybe like some people say like your inner child sometimes like drives you, especially if you're doing something fun, because they say your inner child is like loves the fun, loves to be like a kid. And honestly, when you're drawing, you can be a kid at heart, doing whatever. So maybe your inner child is speaking to you in some sense.
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, actually, to follow up kind of with that, so a lot of people, I guess sometimes with art or other like music, whatever, you know how sometimes people say, oh, I did that when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I feel like I can't, or I don't, or I just didn't, or like for some reason, I don't know, maybe I'm saying that they can't, but they feel that they can't. What do you think of
They're
that?
like, I'm too old for that.
Yeah, like what do you think of that situation, I guess, or that perspective, and how maybe, I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, like why they stopped it in the first place, I think, especially when it comes to creativity. I think as adults, we like, and I don't know if you can relate to this in a way, like since graduating college and you know, being out in the workforce, doing something that doesn't have to do with art. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. So you get in that busy life, family, friends, work, that type thing. I think people, and especially our culture, I think it's like not condemned, but like kind of taboo to act like a child, like to do childish things, I guess you would say, the fun things.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I think it's in America, to me, since I live in America, I think we're just a workforce driven society. Like this has to be the way or no way, or you're a failure in every sense of the way. Even if you do art, there's like an expectation from you to even act, you know, professional, obviously, but like if you do just the childish things, they're like no, like you're looked down on, I guess you would say. I don't know, that's just my perception. I'm sure some people might have a different way of thinking about it, but I know when I started doing my jobs and stuff, I stopped doing a lot. I stopped playing, I guess you would say, outside. I mean, not too long ago, I just like went in the rain and just laid there, like spinned around a little bit. But I mean, I think it's also people shouldn't give a F about what people think. I think a lot of it might be perception of one another. That probably has to do with it too. Yeah. I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, that's good. Yeah, I do think
that's my thoughts.
Yeah, maybe it's something people just I don't know, they feel like grow out of. Of course, our lives are busy. Like, yeah, you said you have jobs, you have your relationships to maintain, and maybe you might think those necessarily aren't like creative things like that. But I do think it's, you know, in small ways, like you can be creative within those things.
Yeah, it just takes the realization to do it, especially like when it comes to dinner. You gotta be creative with dinner because eating the same old thing. I mean, some people might like that, but I cannot eat
makes
chicken.
Amazing food, by the way.
Thank you. I cannot eat chicken every day, and my fiance loves chicken, and I just can't. So, gotta get creative. Different ways of chicken, or doing different types of meat for those that eat meat. Or even vegetarian people have to get creative with their food. They're coming out of all like that speaking of creativity, they're like coming out with like new dishes and stuff to use alternative meat. And I'm just like, that's interesting.
Is it something you think you'd ever try?
I don't know. I'm in this phase where I don't want to eat food that isn't like real in the sense, and you never know what they're putting in all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's my food tangent for the day.
Yeah, we always want to talk about food. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, food's also very great at cooking and everything. That's also
even
very
taking
creative.
photography is creativity, and you take pictures of your food a lot.
I do. Like called out here now. Like, yes, I try to be a little food blogger sometimes. It's a little bit extra.
Do you ever like do like a certain angle because you're like, ooh, this gets the best temptation?
I do think about that, and like with lighting and things.
Do you do reviews for it? Because I don't.
That would be a really cool idea, but I just don't put that much
like this
effort.
Dishes.
I do taste it, and then I do try to really think about it and really formulate an opinion. That's the hardest part, is really just trying to describe like what it is you feel, like just putting this into words. I mean,
creativity.
Yeah, I guess if we could say whatever it was that I wanted in my head, if I could just say it, I guess I wouldn't have to draw or do anything.
I mean, well, what's stopping you from saying like what's in your head, like the way, or maybe it's trying to find the way that people understand.
I think so. I think it's just me in language. I'll just like try to express myself through language.
This feeling.
It's just like words. Like so difficult. But you were talking about like doing like kind of describing food or like reviewing. That would actually be really cool. I do like that idea a lot. I do try to I take a lot of pictures of like food I've cooked because I've also been experimenting with that a little bit. And it's also just a really sweet way, I think, to express like your love for someone, like doing a little task or like I've created.
It's like somebody's love expression. Yeah. Food. I mean, I feel like in every culture there's like we go off each other's food. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like you're like a very like out of all the people I know, I feel like you're the most creative person because you do so many things. Like you're dancing. And I mean, yeah, we like watch people and stuff, but like your dancing has gotten a lot better, and like even the way you like do your little choreography sometimes, like that's pretty creative in my sense. I mean, yeah, you take off from like thoughts and ideas from others, but you make it your own.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah.
Even with your skating.
Yeah, like it's kind of related to dance as well. Dance is a very creative thing, but there's certain rules, I guess. I mean, with a lot of like art, music too, there's certain kind of rules, but you can always like diverge from them and try your own thing. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
The norm, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, exactly. The traditional way of doing things. But sometimes, rules and stuff, it can help as a starting point for you to get like the basics of something, and then you can play and experiment.
Make it your own. You don't have to be like the one person you're like idolizing. Just doing your own thing. Yeah. And I feel like if you're very passionate about whatever you're creative about, it'll show. Even if you're not the best artist or not the best cook, like if you try your best and you're very passionate about it, there's always room to grow. Yeah. I think that's what helps creativity as well.
Yeah. Have you been doing any skating as well recently? Me and Emily got into skating together. Like last year.
Too hot. It's too hot here.
Yes.
I can't. It is too hot. I want to get back into it, but it's just too hot. I took a break during the winter because things are happening and I needed some time to myself. But yeah, dancing, if you love dancing and you at least know the movement of skating and not running in place, I would recommend that because you can dance while you skate and it's pretty fun. I've gotten better. I'm not the best. I'm still like I can skate backwards now, obviously, but
that's
a
like
lot
the hardest
better.
Thing, so
yeah, a lot better. But it's the learning the tricks and the dances to do them backwards and transitioning. I think I got it, the transition down, but the dancing tricks and stuff. But you gotta try them and push yourself outside of your comfort zone. I think that's another thing with creativity.
Oh yeah, good point.
Like pushing out because a lot of people just stay because they're comfy. But I'm like, it's always not about that what if, but like they're like, I don't want to because I might fail. I think that's a big thing. Failure. Always wanting to do but never do it. And I heard something off of the Instagram person I was talking about earlier that has that soothing voice. She talked about, well, what if you're meant to do that, and what's worse is like you're scared of failure, but worse is you not doing anything because of your fear of trying. And I thought that was a good point, and I was like,
that is a good point. Yeah, it's just this like, what even is failure? Sometimes I'm like, so what? Like, you tried, maybe it wasn't. We talk about this sometimes, like, even if it was like this job I applied for, this, that, like, maybe it just wasn't meant to be in that moment. Like, maybe, okay, it didn't turn out how you expected, but that's okay. Maybe it opened the doors for something else. Or another idea, which you maybe wouldn't have gotten to that point unless you had failed, you know? So,
yeah. I mean, you are your own worst critic, as they say, which I totally believe, because they're bringing it back to art or something. Like this painting I have over here, I was like, I'm not sure about this thing, but I know somebody that wants to buy it.
That's awesome.
But I was like, I'm not selling this.
Well, that's cool. At least they recognize your skill and your
she
your
was like,
vision.
if you ever get rid of it, I want it. And I'm like,
Okay.
but that person's all out of love. Also a friend, but I'll tell you about her later. Well,
I did have a question or a thought, I guess. Something I've heard about with artists, or really anyone, musicians, anyone doing any kind of artistic endeavor, they have found themselves in a state of flow. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Have you ever found that or tapped into that? And I don't know if you can describe like how it feels, like maybe when dancing, or for example, is there anything you think about maybe when you're
yeah okay, I can think of all flow. I can think of flow like relating to me, especially in the creativity side of things. Especially with my mediumship, I have a flow. It just goes naturally, but that's when I'm not in my head. That flow comes, but that's not my energy really. That's the spirit energy, and that kind of flows in and out, and then they give me images and symbols, and when I'm not thinking in my head, that comes out very fluently, and I just know. When it comes to dancing, I'm like in this trance when I dance. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm just like, you see my eyes closed, and I'm just like feeling the rhythm, the movement, the bass, and all that good stuff. And then when it comes to like drawing, I do have a flow for like a while, and then my flow stops, and then I like take a break. Yeah, if that makes sense. Like I'm like
it's hard to sustain that. So.
Yeah, because you're like you got these good ideas. You're like drawing, and then you're like nothing's there. It's like you're stuck. You're like in a rut, and I just learned that's your time to just like chill out and rest.
Yeah, it's definitely good. I think
it helps you recharge.
Yeah, exactly.
I think maybe you've just been given so much energy to that one particular thing, and then you just need to recharge. And I feel like if anybody's given up like their creative side, whatever that may be, and they just need a break from it, and then pick it back up, and then see how you feel. If you feel great, cool, then you're meant to do more. But if you don't feel great about it, ask yourself why, though. That's a big question. Ask yourself why you don't feel great about it. And if it's something because you're just not into that, that's cool. But if it's something more underlying, like because of failure or what people thought of it during that time, then that's something you need to work on yourself with when it comes to that.
There's like self-reflection would be pretty important here.
Yeah.
In that. And hopefully realization too. Like, oh, so this is something
that was pretty good. Or whenever you look back at something, especially your artwork,
Yeah.
You ever look back at your artwork
I
from
do.
like your college days and you're like, wow, I was good, but I've came a long way.
Yeah, I do. I have I draw a lot in sketchbooks as of the past couple of years, and at least to me it is like a diary. Like I kind of know what I was thinking, even though maybe the art's not specifically about that. I can tell of what I was thinking, what I was feeling, the relationships I had with people, or like, you know, with partners or whatever, like at the time, and like I guess my emotional state. Like you can kind of tell. Like it's pretty interesting to see. And you can see just the style, the characters, like as they progress, but also, you know, maybe how my emotions and feelings and where I was in life, like how that progressed as well. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, generally, I like to think we see improvement in the actual art. Like, okay, I'm better at drawing this now, you know.
Or,
But
man,
yeah.
I've come a long way.
Yeah, like what was I thinking? Or
like, oh, but it goes like as you said, your creativity during that time goes with your emotions and your flow of that time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, again, like you said, flow is not something you can like be in a constant state of flow. It'd be nice, I guess, but that's not really how.
I guess that, like, from a spiritual standpoint, I guess that depends on like how your body is designed. Did I ever tell you about human design? I don't know.
A little bit. I remember that like term, I guess, but
so if people believe in it, like if they look into it, and there's a whole bunch of stuff, but like if you're meant to do that, then it's a thing. But I don't think anybody really is meant to be in that constant like go. I don't think anybody is, and I don't even think that's healthy in a sense either. I feel like your body will be like, I'm done.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
It's exhausting just to think about.
Yeah.
I think rest is good.
Yes.
Even while you're resting, you can be creative in just your imagination.
That's very true. I've thought about oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Even how like there's times where you're not gonna obviously be creating art sitting at the desk being Pablo Picasso every moment of the day, but you just experiencing your life, observing things, like just thinking about things which you're going to do anyway. That's all can come together, and that's what you create your art from too. Like I don't know, you know, it's just your everyday life experiences is very important. So.
Right, life experiences, and maybe how you want your future to look, or maybe in those coming months. I don't know if you're familiar with the term manifesting.
A little bit, tiny bit.
So basically, what you're describing is just thinking about all that stuff that kind of remind me of manifesting, and that's like how you want your life to look like. You can be very creative in that, especially how you want and like why you want it. Just be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, definitely. I think
might not come in the way you want it.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot, so you might need to fact check me on this. I guess from my understanding, I've heard about manifesting is like you it's like a very positive thing. Like you can have anything, be anything you want. Like you actually already are that thing. I guess you can like I say you fake it till you make it, but it's kind of like you just live it, and it's like there. Like it's not even something you can't achieve. Like that thing you have to get. It's like you already are it. That's what's so cool about it. Yeah.
And the one thing about manifesting, to me, from my understanding, and the way I perceive manifesting is I usually just write down what I want. I might draw it out if I want to, like, maybe like just what I'm feeling in my brain, but most of the time I just write it out. And I'm very creative with how I word things because I want to be very specific. So that, you know. And I think it's all what you, how do I say this? It's all what you perceive is for the best for you, if that makes sense. Because something what you think might be the best for you might not be the best, if that makes, or you might not be thinking outside of the box in the sense of I only need this much when you could go so much bigger. You could have so much more in something that's more better for you than what you're thinking. Yeah, I think that's where your imagination and your creativity might come into play. That's how I perceive it. And usually during the year, at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, maybe closer to the end of the year, I might do like what I want my last months for the year to look like, or what I want the next year to look like. And some of that actually comes true for me. But I do have to work for it. It just doesn't come. Right. Like you can't expect to win the lottery if you don't play the lottery.
Buy those tickets.
I don't play the lottery, but
We actually bought a Powerball ticket yesterday. And so we have this thing. I actually recently bought it too. This is a completely off tangent, but I think you'll like it. We have this little figurine of a three-legged toad, and it's from Chinese folklore. Ooh. And I can't remember his name, but we're just gonna call him like the three-legged toad, right? And he's a little statue, and he's meant to bring like fortune, right? Mm-hmm. But you'll turn him towards the door during the day, and at night to let him rest, you turn him away from the door. Oh. And this is like a part of Chinese mythology. That's so cool. But I'm not even gonna lie, we were doing that, and I got a bonus at work the other day. Ooh. And then what happened? Hunter got some like what are they called, gift cards as well, because he just moved to that new place. I guess they kind of like threw some goodies his way. So that toad is already working.
It comes in ways you might not
expect. Yes, so get you a three-legged toad is the point of all that.
What does it look like?
Yeah, so
I'm gonna like find a picture of that and pop it in there, maybe. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Put it in, like have it appear right there.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I've never thought about that. I've had like
little... you have little sculptures and
little figurines up there.
And you talked about symbols a lot. I was gonna ask, like, is it symbols that are like shared symbols between like us, or is it ones that you feel like are
those
unique?
Symbols that I draw and stuff? Honestly, I don't know where they're from.
That's okay.
I just see them. I see them from my guides. I get them from my guides. I might see them in the clouds sometimes. It's very weird experience. I see a lot of things in the clouds and stuff. That goes along with imagination, people. But I think it's all about your belief and what you believe and what I'm not sure about the symbols that I have. I just write down the first thing that comes to my head, and if it's from God or my guides or just a thought appears, and I just write that down, and it's just about trusting that is what it is for you at that moment and place in time. But I mean, it's okay to be wrong.
Definitely. That's a good that's a really well way you worded that. I like you said trusting, kind of like
trusting is like a big part, even with you're doing your streaming and your drawing, is trusting in yourself.
Yeah, it can be kind of like it can definitely be a challenge of whether like, is this now I'm getting all like thinking all emotional about it. I'm like, is this the right thing to do? Like, is this? I say it's not that it's not worth the effort, but kind of in a way. It's like, okay, is this right for me?
It's always about what is right?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if it is wrong. Like, I mean, at least you tried.
Yeah.
But I mean, those skills and those things and those efforts don't go unnoticed, I feel like.
Yeah.
And like, it might open a door for another opportunity down the road and you don't even know it yet.
Yeah.
So I think we're all meant to do something. Something, because we are human and we're supposed to live a human life, as they say. Can't always be up in the clouds like I am, but you're meant to be here. You're meant to try things. Don't be scared. Like, and you're always wanting to do, so just do it,
Yeah. Another thing I thought of, this might sound a little crazy or weird. Do you think that, like, creativity, I feel like we talk about creativity in a very positive way, which generally I think it's kind of neutral. It can be, but I guess sometimes it cannot be.
The negative
like
side of things?
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of like a con artist, for example. That's kind of a creative.
That's
a whole other thing, I guess.
Creativity on how to rob people.
Right? Yeah, like
all those scammers and stuff have to come up with different ways, and
I mean, you can't lie. I mean, that's kind of
that is coming from somewhere. I swear it is,
but
not in the light you want to play with. I guess
it's pretty funny though, isn't it? Oh, I think about it.
It's funny, and then it's like, wow, that's very clever.
Yeah,
I guess
it's more cunning. I guess you'd say, maybe
like a snake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I think we're trying to stick to more like a positive to make everyone's life better, your life better, not
creativity in a positive spotlight. But if We can talk about that later.
I just thought it was a funny point.
I mean, I guess it's the
up.
way you look at it. It could just be, just is what it is. It might not be bad, but I mean, especially like that dark art.
Yeah.
The dark art. Where the heck does that come from? What place does that come from? You know, like, I mean, have you ever seen those really dark images of people that create? I mean, even the AI.
Oh, like AI art, yeah.
AI is interesting. What's your thoughts on AI?
Oh goodness, we're gonna get into this.
Yes. With the creativity, like, that's wild.
I feel like, okay, so I could see its uses for certain things. Maybe if you just want to like have some quick ideas, like maybe you aren't an artist and you just need like something for small for a project.
Digitally images.
Yeah, like I just want a quick image of like this wizard character from my D&D campaign or something like that. Yeah. I get it, like okay. But I do think, from what I understand, it does use a lot of like pre-made images that other artists have already created. So that is kind of a little like it's a little sus. But now I think it's advanced to the point where it can like basically create its whole artwork just from that, and I don't know, that I feel like that does kind of take away from artists and their craft and their business, like real artists. So I think that's it. I feel like the discussion goes even deeper than that, but that's just generally the idea or the feeling I have about it. I will say I don't know a whole lot about it right now. It's just it's kind of a new territory. But what about you? What do you think?
So I've heard good things about AI, and then I've heard people that are like Terminator AI, like it's gonna ruin the world. I think about it as how you use it. Of course, there's always going to be that few that use AI to their advantage in not such a good way. There's always going to be those few, always. You would hope that wouldn't be the case, but I think it could be used to advantage to like maybe enhance your artwork in a sense. I've heard the argument about taking away from artists, and then I've heard the argument it'll help the artists. And not in a sense of like taking away their images and stuff like that, but I think there's
like a tool as a tool for
artists. I think it just depends on the AI you're using, because there's AIs you could pay. There's Bing AI. It's Bing Chat. They can create little images for you. I've done a few for like my meditation images, which I'll show you later. Because I don't have the tools per se to make my own very nicely, or the time, I guess you would say. But as for you, that's a different story. But I think there could be positive things about AI. But I get where you're coming from. It does kind of like, why pay this artist when I can just pay this monthly fee to like make my own unlimited amount of images I want. You know, but I mean, that's not something you physically have. It's something on the internet, unless they do it to where you can print it on a canvas or
print it out or something.
It's just not the same as that drawing. But I mean, people reprint images that they made. I don't know if you've ever done that for like school and stuff.
A little bit. I've made like kind of smaller scale things like stickers and little prints. I'd like to like actually print comics and things as well. But I think it's probably just easier to distribute, especially online, like just either whether it be on Instagram or, you know, Webtoons. I think those are like, or YouTube. I think those are kind of good avenues to like share art, you know. I was thinking with you and your YouTube channel, how did you start getting to that and seeing that as a way to like share your creative visions? Like,
well, that's interesting. It's an idea that pops in my head, I guess, and then I just kind of go with the flow of whatever idea is in my head, and then I just bring it forth. Mind you, public speaking is like, but
it's so hard.
But this is me getting out of my comfort zone. I mean, even like before we hit play, I was like very excited, but also like so excited to where I was like,
I was really nervous too.
Yeah.
But I had like stuff typed out, and I was like, oh no, like.
It's like I said in the other podcast or anything like that, just trust yourself. Just go with the flow and just do it. Like, just put your heart into it, and if you do that, it most likely will turn out well. Like the whole dandelion thing is like my how do you say, niche for it, like my, I guess, brand, I guess you would say, for the Waken Alive thing. And in that notebook back there, the spiral, when I was like manifesting what I wanted this podcast to be, I actually drew a dandelion, not thinking like that was going to be a part of it, and then lo and behold, like that became like a whole thing.
Yeah, cool.
So I don't know what the symbolism of dandelion is, but yeah, I'd have to look that up because I can't remember. Honestly, I have a phone. Why not look it up now?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what dandelion, like what that means to me, or like just my general.
I don't know what it means to me. You know what I thought it was? What? The dandelion flowers. This is why I did it. This is what it means to me, like planting seeds.
Like things flying
planting little seeds here and there, and that's what I think. But that's what I think a dandelion is. I think it's like the fluffy dandelion.
Like seeds floating away. It's just a very gentle, a very gentle little plant. And it's also like transformed from another plant, you know, like the little yellow, I think, ones to like the puffier ones. So, I don't know. And also just the concept of, you know, you blow a dandelion out and make a wish. It's kind of like a...
My mom used to hate it when I did that because she wanted to get rid of the dandelion.
You were spreading them.
And I was like, Mommy, I made a wish.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
like, good for you. And then under her breath, she's like, Mother, no. Because, you know, some people find dandelions as nuisance, which there's dandelions that are native to America, and there's dandelions that aren't native.
Oh, okay.
And I think,
I know that.
from my understanding, there's different species of dandelion, and the dandelions that we have here most of the time are like invasive. And yes, they feed the bees, but you should try to do your native flowers. I mean, if that particular dandelion is a native flower, then hey, you're good. Some people eat the leaves, I mean. So, they said the bright yellow dandelion flower is a symbol of growth, hope, and healing. Greater significance comes from its unique and instantly recognizable seed head rather than the sunny flower. That seed head, which is what I use, are commonly picked and blown to make a wish, spreading the seeds at the same time. So planting that seed of information, I guess, hope, my energy, I don't know, something like that.
That's cool. I also sort of have a at least I try to have a sort of central brand, I guess, like imagery.
I mean, you kind of do.
Yeah, I have.
It's your art, but the brand you have.
Yeah, because I use the username RivCritter for I try to like consolidate, make all my everything match. So that's a whole other thing, I guess, with art and business, I suppose. So Riv, short, river. And then critter, of course, I draw critters a lot, so that already kind of makes sense. And I kind of use this little rat character as like a little, I guess like a little mascot of type. So, but it is really nice. It's nice when it all comes together. You're able to have a really cohesive, I guess like. I say brand, I guess it sounds so like capitalistic or something, like brand style, or just a theme you can kind of follow throughout. And also the colors, I like a lot of purple. Kind of a dark gray purple color scheme, so that's kind of worked out nicely too. Still tweaking it here and there. I don't know, but that is really fun to come up with. At least I enjoyed doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. do you ever think, because you were talking about branding, it just picked up a thing in my mind. Do you ever think there will be a time with social media and everything that like the creativity to make your own brand name will like run out because everything is used, like even just with like music tones and stuff, like the melodies, like do you ever think that will come a day when everybody's just like using their own because there's like so much out there? Like think about music.
Yeah, I think sometimes
copywriting,
Yeah, I do think like it's kind of ties back to the certain like rules thing with music. There are certain, I don't know, I'm not a music expert, but I from what I understand, there are certain like rules or like ways that songs, keys that just work. And that, I think songs like they can reuse it, but still it still sounds different. It's still its own song. So I'm trying to think, is there like, will it ever run out, like the possibilities for uniqueness run out? I don't think so, because I think you can always change something.
Just a slight change, maybe.
Yeah. Again, there's like, okay, maybe there's so much you can do. You know.
They could just probably put like a 2.0 in front of it and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about like all the Instagram names and stuff. I feel like some of them, I can't remember who it was, maybe Snapchat or something. Like if you delete your account, you can no longer use that like name or something. Yeah. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But I remember because I wanted to like recreate an Instagram, not Instagram, but a Snapchat, and I was like, you can't use that. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, maybe
but it might have changed. I don't know.
They have a clear or what is it called, inactive account, so that way you can get that name that you want.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. But
or they put it to where you just can't change your name only for so many months or something.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of possibilities. So I like to think that there's no like limitation on our naming or our creativity or ways to compose or draw. Even if you're still drawing like pencil and paper, like you're always gonna make it different, make it your own thing.
Yeah.
But maybe the medium is still, you could change entirely. I have a projection of a YouTube video on a wall, but that's part of an installation that I'm also drawing on top of. I mean, you could go crazy, but those are all things that exist already. You know what I'm saying? Like you could really push, like start doing that.
Start out of bounds, even like with videos and stuff. I just like to keep mine stuff simple because
sometimes that's what works.
Yeah.
I'm also pretty simple.
It's like Mr. Beast videos. Like, you gotta get hecka creative to create those videos. Like,
oh goodness.
Woo! I don't know. Apparently, like, he, like, plans out his videos, like, weeks and months in advance.
Goodness, yeah.
And I'm like, that is some serious, like, planning and creativity involved to make sure no video is like the other. And he has, like, multiple accounts.
Yeah. And he I think I don't know too much. I'm, like, so out
Maybe
of it.
Maybe he has other team members helping him, which I'm pretty sure he does.
Like, team of creative people, too. But I'm sure he really understands. Honestly, you're going to be like, what the heck? I don't know too much about him, but I've seen him a little bit. But I'm sure he really understands, especially his audience and, like, what people like, what people want, and what clicks and what works well on YouTube.
But he's also very passionate about it.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of people that aren't.
Yeah, it's like you kind of have to, I think, like, be very balanced in all those things and be very good at entertaining, very good at producing.
Don't let it go to your head either.
Yeah, like, it's probably just a lot of things. Like, it's a lot. You make YouTube videos, you know how much work it is. It's crazy, so.
Yeah. I've come a little ways since making my little videos, but, you know, it's gonna find the people that need it, even if it's not right now.
Yeah.
So, that's what I like to think about it. That's what I like to think.
Yeah. What are your maybe this might be a good question. What are your family? We kind of mentioned your mom earlier. What is your mom, your family, your friends, your fiance? Like, what is everyone? What is their perspective? Or like, what do they say? You know what I mean? It's kind of like you and your little crazy world. Or so, like, what do they think of it and your creative endeavors? Like, what is their disposition?
Growing up and stuff, like creativity wise, like when it came to like art and stuff, they were like, cool, whatever. My mom was like, gun ho, like everybody like, oh, you can draw, yeah, cool, great.
Yeah, like
yeah, cool, can't do that, but awesome. Yeah, that's what they thought about that. As for like this stuff, like the YouTube and like the mediumship and the course and stuff that I'm trying to put out and all that, of which I will talk about in my solo video sometime next month. But when I finish it, that's one of my projects, which I'll tell you about it off camera. I think I told you a little bit, but anyway, they don't really know much about that. Too much. I kind of keep that kind of like hush hush. I don't know why. My mom knows like a good bit about my mediumship and stuff, but everybody else kind of like hush hush about. I think that's the fear of I don't know how to react, or maybe just the way they are. I don't know.
That's okay. Sometimes it's something maybe for right now. It's like for yourself.
But it's kind of crazy because I put it out on TikTok and Like a few cousins follow me on TikTok, but they don't say anything, so I don't say anything either. So
Sorry.
you know, it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. If they ever ask me, I just am like, I'll let them know when I get there.
That's okay.
Right now, I just kind of keep it to myself, especially my mediumship stuff. I'm getting more comfortable telling people.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah, by no means do you have like to feel pressure to always also like share, communicate with others like exactly what you're doing, what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I feel that way too. I have to like explain myself to the world or announce to everyone my stuff, and I'm like
I keep my private life private on here for the most part, unless it has to do something with like my inner healing, I guess. But even with that, I try to not go into detail much because it's very personal. When you there's got to be some line of boundary. I know that's not about creativity, but it's
I mean, I feel like
a little tangent, but
in ways it could be, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
I guess you get creative in how you tell people, I guess. Or how you gently like let them know on some level of like, oh, I can see your past people. So like recently I haven't done much mediumship in a little bit just because of everything, and recently I started meditating again to help me because I've been putting it off. I don't know why. And recently I never ever see my grandfathers. Usually I never see them. There's only one time I've actually seen them. Seen one of them when I was doing mediumship circle with some people, and but the other day I saw them all this morning with my stepdad. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. And my ears ringing. Do you ever I'll go back on ear ringing. My ears ringing. That's them letting me know. But I think that has to do with what I'm working on, that course that I'll be talking about later on in life, next month hopefully. And I think that's what it has to do. But to answer your question, I try to be open about the drawing and the creativity part, except for this stuff. I'm like a little turtle when it comes to that, but I put myself out there on YouTube and stuff. So it kind of makes no sense to maybe the outside, but to me it makes sense. And what's within my comfort. Yeah. I guess what I'm willing to share, less questions, because it's hard to tell people what's happening on the inside of your brain about everything.
Yeah, sometimes it can be difficult to.
Or they might have questions, or it's that the always the what ifs, all in your head. So
yeah, it's okay.
You know,
so it is important, I think. Even though you said it was like a tangent from creativity, but I actually think it ties into it. The whole like boundary. You said it like boundaries you have. And creativity and openness, but having that balance of like sometimes you need boundaries too, whether it's just for yourself, whatever you feel comfortable with at an emotional level, or just familiar. Just to you just maybe don't want to explain everything to someone, because sometimes that's a lot of your energy, and you just maybe aren't prepared for that right now. Like it's okay. But then you still can share it, and the people that it would resonate with can still find it, and that's what's important. So that's okay.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. I try to be eloquent.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up here. How do you want them to find you if they want to find you?
Yeah. Okay. So I post a lot of my artwork on Instagram. I am Riv Critter on Instagram, and Riv Critter Creations on YouTube. Hopefully I'll start posting more on there as well, and then just Riv Critter on Twitch as well. I think those are the three main sites I'm mostly using. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, right?
And I may be coming on her Twitch sometime in the near future.
It would be fun and cool.
And we'll both draw something, but my artwork and her artwork are two different things, and that's okay.
That's okay.
Totally different, but it's fine. We're both different people. And so I'm Emily Ruth, this is River, and this is the Awaken Life podcast, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Woo, bye. thank you for listening to the Wake and Alive podcast. If you like that episode, hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, you can find more episodes on Spotify under Awake and Alive or YouTube Emily Ruth Healer. I hope you all have a good one and have a good night.